Thank you, Acting Ceann-Comhairle, and thank you, Minister. And I appreciate being given the time to raise this important issue here today. But the indicative leader budget for 2023 is £180 million for a 5-year period of 2023-2027. The new programme is £36 million per year as opposed to £50 million. And Minister, no matter how we dress this up, that is a reduction. The ILDN made a submission on this to the Department of Agriculture because that is the formal managing authority for CAP and therefore leader. But in effect, the Minister in the Department of Rural and Community Development operates the leader budget. And that is why I am asking why there is an actual reduction and what can we do about that. This unnecessary cut will have real effects on local businesses and communities in my own constituency and elsewhere. There are solutions if the government is prepared to look at them. And Minister, this is about rural Ireland. For 3 decades, the programme delivered by local development companies has brought much-needed jobs to rural areas and developed rural communities. The aim of LEADER programme 2023-2027 is to continue to support a community-led local development approach to rural development. We cannot do that if we are reducing the budget on it. We absolutely need to work together to assist enterprising communities in rural parts of Ireland, like my own minister in Carlow Kilkenny, to improve quality of life and the economic activity. Can we look at this funding to drive bottom-up community-led investments to create and maintain enterprise in rural Ireland? If we set this budget in stone, we will deprive rural communities of critical capacity building supports and funding for vital enterprise, tourism and community-led development. We will also conflict with your own national rural strategy, or rural future, which is specifically linked to the leader approach. So can you please take another look at these numbers, because I know in your response to me you are going to say that there is no reduction, but on the ground, and that is not what those living in the programme are telling me. What is the process and the delay in the report of the review of the LCDC structures that will enable the government to deliver on its programme for government to empower independent local action groups to deliver the new programme in 2023-2027? And Minister, I also want to ask you about the process, and I have spoken to a lot of different groups. Like the process, there's so much red tape to applying for your leader funding, and I have heard that from several different groups, and it has become a big issue. Now, I do understand that we have to have transparency, and everyone agrees with that, but there's definitely issues when you apply for the funding, and I would ask that that be changed, because that is really an obstacle to stop communities from applying. So I would ask you going forward that that would also be addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. On Tara.
And thank you, Deputy, for the question. The LEADER programme has been in operation in Ireland for 30 years, and to mark this anniversary, Minister Humphreys recently launched the National Rural Network's booklet of LEADER case studies. The case studies are excellent examples of the really impactful and innovative initiatives that the LEADER programme has delivered across Ireland in that time. Indeed, in recent months, I have visited a range of projects and initiatives in communities across Ireland and have seen firsthand the great work being delivered by LEADER groups. This government clearly recognises the vital role that LEADER plays in delivering high-quality rural development projects at local level, and it will continue to support investment in rural Ireland. In the 2014 to 2020 CAP programming period, £250 million was allocated to LEADER. For the 7-year period from 2021 to 2027, this funding allocation will be maintained at €250 million. This is comprised of €70 million provided for the transitional period from 21 to 22, and the recently announced indicative allocation of €180 million for the period 23 to 27. The maintenance of the €250 million funding from the 2014 to 2020 period is evidence of the government's continued support for the LEADER programme. I am aware that the €70 million made available to LEADER groups in 21 and 22 has already supported a range of new project approvals, and expressions of interest for new projects remain open across LEADER areas. In discussing the issue of investment in rural development, it is also important to take account of the record levels of investment across a range of schemes and initiatives. For example, a range of schemes have been implemented in recent years, such as the Rural Regeneration and Development Fund, the Town and Village Renewal Scheme, the Walk Scheme, and the Outdoor Recreation Infrastructure Scheme. Indeed, local development companies have been involved in the delivery of some of these schemes, as well as maintaining their role in respect of leader delivery, and their involvement in this regard has been very beneficial and is very much appreciated. Budget 2022 also saw increases secured across all of the Department of Rural and Community Development's rural schemes, and the National Development Plan outlines a clear commitment to a continuation of investment in rural Ireland as a matter of priority. Capital funding allocations for the Department have seen an increase from 88 million in 2018 to 205 million in 2025 under the NDP. At present, preparations for the design of the range of schemes that will make up Ireland's new CAP strategic plan are well advanced. The total funding available for this package of schemes for 23 to 27 amounts to €9.8 billion. The total funding for these essential schemes for the 2021 to 27 period has increased by 30% over the 2014 to 2020 CAP period, representing a clear commitment to rural Ireland by this government. A national public consultation process on the new CAP strategic plan was recently put in place by the Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. The consultation process ran for a month and closed on the 8th of December. I understand that a number of submissions were made in relation to the new Leader programme as part of this process. Such stakeholder consultation will remain a central element of the design of the new Leader programme, and I know that Minister Humphreys met with all the representatives of the ILDN on December 2nd to discuss a wide range of issues, including the Leader programme. Further meetings are scheduled with the ILDN this week at official level as part of this continued direct engagement. I am confident that the Government's ongoing commitment to rural Ireland and its continued commitment to funding the great work being done by leader groups across the country will help to deliver on the range of actions for our rural communities into the future as set in the Government's ambitious rural development policy or rural future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister. And I feel there's a big communication issue, and I do welcome the further meeting scheduled with the ILDN this week with the officials and the Minister, because I think that is so important. But I do think, and I'm getting different figures now to what you're giving me, Minister, so I do want to welcome the commitment from the Government to invest in rural Ireland. And like what you said, I see in my own community, Carlow Kilkenny, the amount of good funding and the amount of community spirit that this has brought to rural Ireland is really important. And it is important funding that communities want, and I want to welcome that. But I do think we need to have more communication on this. I think we need to have more information on it. I think there's definitely a breakdown there, Minister. So I would ask that maybe you would have an information campaign on it. I know that the Minister is speaking to all the different stakeholders, but there is definitely concerns, and I'm hearing them from on the ground myself. So I would ask that there be more engagement, and I would ask that we have more information. The other thing I just want to speak about is when you spoke about you said that there's a 30% increase. And that is welcome, but I just probably need to get more clarification on your figures, as I said. But look, overall, I think, first of all, we have to welcome any funding that is brought into rural Ireland and in my own area. And we also have to make sure that this delivers and that there is never cutbacks in here. But I will ask you again about the application process. That to me is an issue that has been brought up to me when you're applying for funding. I would ask that the Minister would engage and see what can be done on that, because there is a lot of red tape, and I would ask for a commitment that that be addressed. Again, I welcome the fact that there is that the submissions have been made, and I see December is the time that you're saying that everything has been taken into I suppose brought back to the department, and will come back to all the different stakeholders. But I would just say again, please, information and communication, again, I feel is the real issue when we are talking about rural Ireland. And I would ask again that this be maintained, and definitely we need to address that again. And I welcome any funding at all that comes to rural Ireland, and particularly my own in Carlow Kilkenny. Now, I did see we were down slightly last year, Minister, so I would ask that you address that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. On Tara.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank the Deputy for raising this issue here today. The Leader programme has been a very successful initiative for 30 years in Ireland. I am in no doubt that there is real value in the continued support for bottom-up, locally led initiatives that address the needs of communities all across the country, and this is the hallmark of the Leader approach. In fact, this direct link to local communities is also central to the mission of my department and to Government's vision for rural Ireland, as outlined in our Rural Future. Local development companies play a central role in delivering LEADER and a range of other rural development and community initiatives run by my department, and the benefits of this role are well recognised. In recognition of this, the Government has committed to continue the support for the LEADER programme by way of the allocation of €250 million over the period 2021 to 2027. LEADER will thus continue to be a vital component of a well-funded CAP strategic plan in the coming years. As preparations continue for the development of the new CAP and LEADER programme, I can assure the Deputy that direct and meaningful consultation with the key stakeholders will form a central part of that process. Following on from recent national consultation process on the CAP strategic plan, which was launched by my government colleague Minister McConalogue, it is intended that a draft of the plan will be submitted to the EU Commission early in the new year. There will then follow a process of intense negotiation and discussion with our colleagues in the EU Commission in order to finalise the details of all the schemes in the strategic plan, including LEADER. Stakeholders such as the ILDN, who are central to LEADER delivery, will continue to be consulted as this process develops. I am confident that our new CAP strategic plan will deliver real and meaningful support to communities across rural Ireland. Within this, the significant national and EU funding which has been allocated to LEADER will ensure that we can build on the benefits that LEADER has delivered all over Ireland in the last 30 years. I am confident that the new LEADER programme will continue to build on the great work of the last 30 years and to play a central role in delivering on the Government's vision for rural Ireland as set out in our Rural Future. And I will take the Deputy's question about her own constituency back to Minister Humphreys.